Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Burkett, and this is my presentation for IL 709 Applied Research 2 at the University of North Alabama for Dr. Jeff Cornelius. My research topic was the effect of gainful employment upon secondary student achievement in English language arts classes. Before I get to why I chose that topic, I want to provide a few definitions to clarify the presentation. First, gainfully employed means a student who consistently works 15 or more hours per week. Legal employment means employment through legally recognized businesses that cut taxes from employee paychecks and report the employment to the IRS. Finally, under the table employment means employment through friends, family, neighbors, or word of mouth where the employee is paid with cash or a personal check, no taxes are cut, and the IRS is unaware of the employment. Some interesting information that helped me to develop my research question is on slide number 4. First, from Zerold, Garman, and Anderson in 2005. Estimates suggest that as many as 80% of youths are employed before they leave high school, and 46% of employed youth work over 20 hours per week. From Quirk, Keith, and Quirk in '01, student employment may, however, affect one subject area more than another, mathematics more than English, history more than science, etc. Future research should test such a supposition. Such as some completing some preliminary reading in the fall. I read 20, 22 or so articles. I developed this particular research question, and the previous two quotes were the biggest influences. Is there a statistically significant difference in secondary student achievement in English language arts classes between students who are gainfully employed and those who are not gainfully employed? Some questions that arose after I developed that first question. Is there a stat sig difference in ELA achievement between secondary students who are gainfully employed and attend class beginning before 9 a.m. and those who are gainfully employed and attend class beginning after 9 a.m.? The thought process was that a student who works until 10 or 11 o'clock at night might not be ready to go early in the morning. Another question was, is there a stat sig relationship in ELA achievement between secondary students who are gainfully employed and work legally and those who are gainfully employed and work under the table? The idea here is that those who are employed under the table have greater flexibility in their work schedules, more understanding bosses, etc., and would still be able to participate not only in study sessions and get their homework done, but also be more involved with school activities, having more school pride, and perhaps having greater performance levels in their academic subjects. And finally, is there a stat sig relationship in ELA achievement between secondary students who are gainfully employed and scored 21 or below on the ACT and those who are gainfully employed and scored 22 or above? This question, as you can see, was interesting because it would directly translate to they have a good GPA but a bad ACT score. We were going to measure performance that way. But this question was abandoned because not enough students answered the questions in a positive manner about their ACT. They either had not taken the test yet or they could not recall their score. The methodology for this particular study was a quantitative study. There was a survey instrument developed by the lead researcher. That survey instrument was administered through Google Forms, through the school system's Google Suite to ensure the security of each participant. There were 15 total questions on the survey instrument. And one of the questions, of course, regarded the student GPA. Student GPA was translated from A plus to the digit 7, A to the digit 6, B plus to 5, B to 4, C plus to 3, C to 2, and a D or F equals a 1. This was done in order to get the descriptive statistics necessary to complete this study: mean, median, mode, standard deviation, effect size, etc. The participants in this study were at a local high school with the grades 10 through 12. Over 1,000 permission slips were sent. 353 were returned. 344 were returned and filled out appropriately and were used for this study. 277 participating students were not gainfully employed, while 67% of students, 67 participating students were gainfully employed. As you can see, the majority of the students answering the survey were 10th graders, and then the junior and senior participants were somewhat even. For research question 1, the null hypothesis was accepted. There was not a statistically significant relationship between gainful employment and English language arts achievement among secondary students. There is a noticeable difference. The non-gainfully employed students had a higher GPA than all gainfully employed students. However, the effect size was 0.27, which is less than 0.5 and therefore not significant. For research question 2, again, the null hypothesis was accepted. There was not a statistically significant difference in achievement between gainfully employed secondary ELA students who began class before 9 a.m. and those who began class after 9 a.m. This question, through no surprise to the researcher, got closest to being significant. As you can see, the mean score of those who began class after 9 a.m. was 4.56, nearly into the A category, whereas the experimental group was 3.93 into the C category. However, the effect size proved to be 0.33 and therefore not significant. For research question 3, again, the null hypothesis was accepted. There was not a statistically significant difference in achievement between gainfully employed secondary ELA students who were employed legally and those who were employed under the table. I'll address this later, but I believe that this needs a little more study in the future. Obviously, there was a little bit of a difference. The under the table workers achieved a little bit higher of a performance level than the employees who were employed legally, but the effect size was quite small at 0.08 and therefore not significant. Some common themes. One of the quotes from the research and the articles that I read in the fall, many researchers have found a slightly positive effect of working on achievement for up to 15 to 20 hours per week, and negative effects begin when students work more than 20 hours per week. That was from Quirk in '01. That was certainly true of the participants in my study. 84% of the students who expected to work 14 hours or less per week, but did expect to work at least a little bit, achieved AB honor roll at 84%, as compared to 70% of those who expected to work 15 or more hours per week. The 14% difference to me was fairly significant, and I feel like that needs to be studied a little bit further. After completing the research and analyzing the findings, I took some time to reflect on the future studies in this field and also some limitations with my own study. First, future study is needed in the other three core areas, obviously science, mathematics, and history. Future studies should also take a closer look at under the table employment versus legal employment. The differences there can be quite striking. The ability of those who are employed under the table to have flexible schedules is the first thing one would notice. Future studies should also examine the type of legal employment, whether it be fast food, whether it be a stock boy, whether it be a cart, a shopping cart organizer, somebody working at Southwire. What type of employment do they have? Obviously, some types are more difficult than others, more time consuming than others. And future studies should take note of the reason a student is working. Are they working for their own personal spending money? Are they working for family expenses? Are they working for a career jumpstart, such as a Southwire, etc.? The limitations of my study, some forms were returned with contradictory answers, and of course, they were removed from the final 344 count, but that's an indicator that not every student took it seriously. Also, not enough seniors participated. Sophomores were almost half of the responses at 43%. And not enough attention to the difference between under the table employment and legal employment, which I've already covered a couple of times. I'd like to thank you for listening and watching this presentation. If you have questions or comments about the employment level of secondary students and their academic achievement, I would love to hear from you. My email address there is posted, mburkett@una.edu. Thank you again.